Some wounds don't bleed, yet they ache. Not because no apology was offered, but because the apology never truly reached the heart. Welcome to Guide to Reads, where each book is not just read, it's felt, explored, and lived. Here, we search for the kind of wisdom that doesn't just fill the mind, it mends the soul. If you've ever whispered, "I'm sorry," and still felt a wall of silence, this episode is for you. Today, we open the pages of a book that redefines the very art of apology, The 5 Apology Languages by Gary Chapman, the same voice behind the 5 Love Languages, and Dr. Jennifer Thomas, a psychologist who has spent years listening to the quiet language of conflict. This book carries a transformative truth. Just as we love differently, we also forgive differently. Not all apologies are created equal. What heals one heart might fall flat on another. And in these pages, you'll learn the 5 distinct languages of apology, each one a bridge to deeper understanding, healing, and connection. Whether you're repairing a broken friendship, restoring trust in love, or simply trying to be better, this episode offers more than insight. It offers a way back to the people you care about. So take a breath, let the noise fade, and join us in this journey of healing through language. Don't forget to subscribe to Guide to Reads, and turn on the bell so that you never miss a flash of wisdom that might just change your life. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Apologies that miss the mark. There are wounds that don't respond to bandages, only to the right words, said the right way, by the right heart. We've all been there, standing in the aftermath of a mistake, offering our best, "I'm sorry," only to be met with silence, or worse, the cold drift of someone walking away. But why? Why do apologies, even when sincere, sometimes fall like stones into water, making no ripple at all? The authors, Gary Chapman and Dr. Jennifer Thomas, begin with a truth that feels like a quiet revelation. Most apologies fail, not because they lack sincerity, but because they lack precision. They don't sound right to the one who's hurt. Because, just like we receive love in different ways, we also need to be apologized to in different languages. For some, healing begins with words of regret. "I'm sorry" must be said, and said with weight. Others need more than words. They need restitution, to see action that repairs what was broken. And then there are those who can't find peace until you humbly say, "Will you forgive me?" Not as a formality, but as a door you're asking to be let back through. It's not that we aren't trying. It's that we're often speaking a language the other heart doesn't understand. The key? To truly restore a bond, you must learn to speak the apology language the other person hears, not just the one that feels right to you. Because healing isn't about saying what makes you feel better. It's about saying what helps them feel whole. Chapter 2, Language 1, Expressing Regret. Sometimes the heaviest thing we carry is not guilt, but the silence that follows an apology that didn't land where it was needed. It begins with 2 small words. "I'm sorry." But like a key in a lock, those words only open hearts when they turn the right way. The first apology language is expressing regret. And while it may seem simple, true regret is never hollow or rushed. It is full, specific, and sincere. To someone who speaks this language, healing comes when you do more than just admit you were wrong. You must name the pain you caused. "I'm sorry I yelled at you in front of others. I realize my words embarrassed you, and that wasn't fair." These apologies carry weight because they acknowledge a wound with precision and empathy. It's not enough to whisper, "I didn't mean it." Intentions don't heal. Understanding does. And here's what doesn't belong in this language. No excuses, no "but I was just," no blaming circumstances or emotions. Because for those who crave this kind of apology, what they're really asking for is a moment of emotional truth. One where you look them in the eye and say, "I see what I did. I see how it hurt you, and I am truly sorry." That moment, it's not about fixing everything at once. It's about validating their pain. And sometimes, that's where real healing begins. Chapter 3, Language 2, Accepting Responsibility. To say "I was wrong" is not a sign of weakness. It is the strength to stand before another soul without armor. Many of us have learned to say "I'm sorry," but fewer have learned to say the far more difficult words. "It was my fault, I was wrong." This is the language of accountability, the second apology language. And for some, it is the only path toward healing, because regret may show that you feel bad, but responsibility shows that you understand why you should. This kind of apology demands more than emotion. It demands truth. It sounds like this: I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. It was disrespectful and unkind. You didn't deserve that. There are no shields here, no excuses, no blame on stress, or moods, or bad days. Just full ownership of your actions, without flinching. Because for those who speak this language, healing is not found in sympathy but in justice. Not punishment, but truth. They want to hear that you see your mistake, and that you are strong enough to claim it. Why does this matter so deeply? Because when someone is hurt, and the person who caused the hurt denies it or waters it down, it reopens the wound, and it tells the other person, your pain is not valid. So beware. A vague sorry without responsibility is like giving someone an empty gift. They may hold it, but it holds nothing. True healing begins when we can say, what happened was my doing, I own it, and I am ready to make it right. Chapter 4. Language 3. Making restitution. Some hearts don't heal with words. They heal when your hands rebuild what your words once broke. For some, I'm sorry is not the end of the apology. It's only the beginning. Because while words can touch the heart, actions prove what the heart truly holds. The third apology language is making restitution, a sacred question dressed in humility. How can I make this right? This isn't about grand gestures or buying forgiveness. It's about restoring balance, emotionally, physically, or even symbolically. Sometimes it means replacing what was lost. Other times it means showing up, with intention, with care, with presence. Imagine this. I canceled our date at the last minute. I know that made you feel unimportant. Let me make it up to you. I'll plan a quiet evening this weekend, just for us. That's not just an apology. It's a commitment, a way of saying, you matter enough for me to act. So what does restitution look like? Replacing what was broken, rebuilding trust moment by moment, or even doing something in their love language, not just your own tip. Don't assume. Ask, what can I do to make things right? And then, do it. Because for those who speak this language, healing comes when sorrow moves its feet. When love isn't just felt, it's shown. Why this matters? Because when pain causes distance, words can only reach so far. But action crosses the space in between. It turns apology into transformation. Chapter 5. Language. 4. Genuinely repenting. True remorse is not in the tear that falls, but in the step that refuses to walk the same path again. For some hearts, I'm sorry means little unless it's followed by something deeper. Not just sorrow for the past, but a pledge to the future. This is the fourth apology language, genuine repentance. It speaks not through sentiment, but through transformation. To someone who speaks this language, your words aren't enough. They need to see that the mistake won't happen again, not because you said so, but because you're becoming someone different. They're listening for a recognition of the pattern, a sincere plan for change, and a glimpse of evolution, even if it's still in progress. Consider this. I've been late to every dinner. That's unfair to you. I've set new reminders and blocked my calendar. I'm making sure I show up on time for us. That's repentance in motion. Not perfection, but progress. Not empty promises, but a clear path. To repent, you must reflect on your behavior. What keeps causing harm? Identify your triggers. What leads you down the same road? Commit to change and invite accountability. Why this matters? Because when someone's been hurt repeatedly, words begin to wear thin. What restores their trust isn't a better apology. It's a better version of you. And this language, perhaps more than any other, honors that sacred truth. Love cannot thrive in the shadow of repeated harm. It must grow in the light of intentional change. Chapter 6. Language 5. Requesting forgiveness. To ask for forgiveness is to place your heart in another's hands and wait, patiently, for mercy. Among all the languages of apology, this may be the most vulnerable and the most powerful. It doesn't argue, it doesn't insist, it simply asks, "Will you forgive me?" This is the language of surrender, of letting go of control and giving the other person what they may need most, the choice. Because for some, true healing can't begin until they are invited to unlock the door themselves, when they feel respected enough to decide, not pressured to move on. It sounds like this: "I know I hurt you deeply. I hope one day you'll be able to forgive me, and I understand if you're not ready yet." There is no rush, no demand, only a quiet humility that says, "I honor your pain. I leave the next step to you." This language recognizes a sacred truth. Forgiveness isn't a transaction, it's a process, a journey each person must take in their own time, on their own terms. And here lies the danger. If you offer every other part of an apology, but never utter this simple question, those who need to hear it may feel overlooked, even unseen, as if their pain was acknowledged, but never entrusted. Why this matters? Because for some, closure only comes when they're invited to give grace, when they are asked, not assumed, when forgiveness is a choice, not a footnote. And sometimes that one question, asked from the heart, can be the first light in a long night. Chapter 7. Why we struggle to apologize. Some of the hardest words to say are the ones that reveal we're human, fragile, flawed, and willing to change. We often think the challenge is knowing how to apologize, but the deeper struggle is something quieter, more hidden, the fear of what apology might cost us. In this chapter, Chapman and Thomas turn the mirror inward, asking not what we say when we apologize, but why we often don't. Why do we resist those words, even when the guilt is heavy, even when we know we've caused harm? They name the reasons, and they're familiar to every heart: pride, the silent whisper that says, "If I admit I was wrong, I lose." Fear, the trembling thought, "What if they reject me even after I apologize?" Minimization, the inner shrug, "It wasn't that big a deal." Or simply, the absence of a model. Some of us were never shown how to apologize. We grew up in families where pain was passed over, not repaired, where silence replaced reconciliation, where mistakes were buried, not spoken. And so we carry these habits into adulthood, clumsy, unspoken patterns that echo through our relationships. But here lies the truth, the quiet revelation this chapter brings. Apologizing is not weakness. It is one of the clearest signs of emotional strength. To say, "I was wrong," to say, "I hurt you," to say, "Please forgive me," requires more courage than pretending we were never at fault. Apologies are not admissions of failure. They are acts of healing, and they are taught, not inherited, which means they can be learned by anyone willing to begin again. And perhaps the real mark of maturity isn't never making mistakes, but knowing how to rise from them, with humility, honesty, and heart. Chapter 8. How to discover your own apology language. To know how you heal is to hold the key to your own heart and to the hearts of those you love. We often think of apologies as something we give, but just as important is understanding how we receive. Each of us carries a unique emotional fingerprint, a way in which healing words land most deeply. And just like love languages, we have our own apology languages, primary and secondary. So, how do you find yours? The authors offer a simple path. Reflect on past pain. When someone hurt you, what did you need to hear or see to feel truly understood? Notice your expectations. Do you crave responsibility, restitution, words of regret, a clear plan for change? Ask those closest to you. What do they need when they're hurt? What do they remember about moments when you made things right? The book includes a quiz, and there's one online as well, to help you discover your own apology language and better understand the people in your life. Because when you know your language, and theirs, apology transforms. It becomes more than a gesture. It becomes a bridge. And in a world where misunderstanding often builds walls, that bridge may be the most precious thing we ever learn to build. To apologize well is not just to say the right words. It's to speak the truth that makes the other feel seen, heard, and held. Chapter 9. Apologies in romantic relationships. Love is not measured by how perfect we are, but by how gently we repair the moments when we fall short. In the quiet spaces of romantic relationships, where words linger and wounds echo longer, The way we apologize can either build bridges or burn them. Chapman and Thomas remind us that in love, apology languages aren't just helpful, they're essential. Because here, misunderstandings run deeper. A missed apology can feel like rejection. A misaligned attempt at making things right can turn into silence, resentment, or distance that feels too wide to cross. But it doesn't have to be that way. Couples who learn each other's apology languages unlock something sacred: more forgiveness, faster emotional healing, a deeper, more resilient intimacy. Imagine this: one partner needs words to hear, "I'm sorry, I was wrong." The other needs action, to see time carved out, a gesture made, a behavior changed. Without this understanding, both feel unseen. But when both learn to speak and hear each other's language, conflict becomes less of a crack and more of a doorway. The truth is, no relationship survives without mistakes. But the ones that grow through them are the ones where each apology says not just, "I regret," but also, "I know how to love you better now." In love, the real apology is not just about fixing the moment, it's about deepening the bond. Chapter 10. Apologies in Families and Friendships. The deepest roots of love often grow in the soil of forgiveness, in the quiet chambers of home, and in the sacred silence between old friends. Apologies carry a unique weight. These are the people who know our earliest versions, the ones who held our secrets, watched us stumble, laughed with us, cried with us. And yet, even among these closest bonds, harm still happens. Words are said, trust breaks, hearts bruise. But if there's one truth this chapter offers, it's this: healing is always possible. When we learn to apologize in a language the other heart can receive, whether it's a parent teaching their child to say, "I'm sorry," with real sincerity, or two siblings tangled in years of rivalry, learning to see each other again as allies, not enemies, or friends, once inseparable, now silent, wondering if the bridge can still be rebuilt. This book gives tools, but more than that, it gives hope. Because no apology is ever small in the world of relationships. When feelings run deep, the way we say sorry matters even more. So here's a rule of thumb. Never assume a one-size-fits-all apology will do. Some hearts need words, others need action, some need time, others need accountability. But all hearts need to feel seen. And maybe, just maybe, the greatest act of love is not never hurting the people we care about, but having the courage and wisdom to truly make it right when we do. Chapter 11. Apologies at Work and in Public Life. A poor apology can cost you your reputation. A good one can earn you respect that silence never could. You might think apologies belong at home, around dinner tables, or whispered in quiet corners of the heart. But step into any office, boardroom, or public stage, and you'll find the same truth waiting. Mistakes happen. Egos clash. Trust cracks. And in these high-stakes spaces, the ability to apologize, really apologize, becomes more than just a virtue. It becomes a professional skill. This chapter pulls back the curtain on real stories. Leaders who salvaged entire careers with a heartfelt admission of fault, and others who, by avoiding a simple "I was wrong," watched teams crumble and credibility vanish. The authors don't just theorize. They show how the 5 apology languages can work in emails, in meetings, in public statements. Why does this matter? Because in today's world, a cold apology isn't enough. People want authenticity. Teams want trust. Clients want accountability. Whether you're managing others or just trying to be a better coworker, the right apology can prevent lawsuits, repair broken trust, enhance your personal and professional reputation, and above all, it signals something rare and valuable: emotional intelligence. The kind that says, "I'm human, I made a mistake, and I care enough to make it right." Because in work, as in life, it's not perfection that earns loyalty, it's humility. Final chapter. The healing power of a true apology. Words, when sincere, can rebuild what actions have broken. Throughout this journey, we've discovered that apologies aren't just words. They are acts of love, courage, and restoration. From marriages bruised by silence, to friendships torn by betrayal, from awkward family dinners to boardrooms tense with unspoken blame. The message rings clear. We all hurt. We all fall. But we can all learn to rise together if we speak the right apology language. And it's not just about saying, "I'm sorry." It's about understanding what sorry means to the other person. Do they need to see you make amends? Or hear that you take responsibility? Or feel your regret? Or know you'll never do it again? Or simply be asked for forgiveness? There is no one-size-fits-all in healing. Each heart speaks a different language. And when we learn to listen, we begin to rebuild bridges, not just burn regrets. In a world constantly rushing, pausing to apologize can feel uncomfortable. But remember, a well-spoken apology doesn't make you weak. It makes you whole. It doesn't take away your power. It reveals your character. It doesn't erase the past, but it can rewrite the ending. So as you close this book, ask yourself, who needs to hear from me? And more importantly, how do they need to hear it? Because the right words said in the right way can begin a new story. A story of trust, of healing, of love that didn't give up. This was The 5 Apology Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman and Dr. Jennifer Thomas. You've been listening to Guide to Reads, where wisdom finds words and words find hearts. If this episode touched you, share it with someone you care about. Because sometimes a podcast is the beginning of reconciliation. Until next page, stay wise and stay kind.